Okay, thank you for joining us today for the second webinar of our 2026 JA webinar series covering fuel farm maintenance. Today we have Mr. Steve Sowders, who's going to be our speaker. Before I introduce him, I would like to cover a couple of housekeeping items. Please place your microphone on mute if you have not already. Also, we'll ask that everybody hold their questions until the end of the presentation. If you do have a question during the presentation, you can place it in the chat section. And then following the presentation, I'll review the chat section and open up the floor for additional questions. Today's presentation will cover the fuel farm anatomy and importance, fuel farm protection and maintenance, inspection requirements and schedules, quality assurance and training, and identifying issues before they become problems. Our speaker, Mr. Steve Sowder, serves with Perry Brothers Aviation Fuels in Americus, Georgia, where he focuses on fuel sales, quality assurance, customer service, fuel farm maintenance, and repairs. Steve is a United States Marine Corps veteran with more than 20 years of service in the medical field, specializing in cardiovascular medicine. Steve is also a licensed CDL driver and is an ASE certified technician. In his aviation career, he has served as an FBO manager at West Georgia Regional Airport, and in his position with Perry Brothers, he now assists airports throughout the region with fuel system operations, inspections, training, and maintenance. Please join me in welcoming Steve Sowders from Perry Brothers Aviation Fuels. Steve, the floor is yours, sir.
Mr. Stevenson, thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you for spending time with us today. I hope you find some of this information informative. I was once an FBO manager and everything was so new to me. I wish I had resources like this. I want to thank the GAA for giving me an opportunity to help educate others and hopefully encourage you to get to know more about your tank farms and the refueling equipment. So today, some key takeaways. Well, let's see here. It's not moving forward. Can we hit the next slide or?
Steve, what I'll do, I'll go ahead. Let me bring it. Look like you might be having some issues sharing. Let me bring up let me bring
Your
it up.
screen? Yeah, it
And
says,
then you just tell me to advance the slides and I can do it that way.
okay.
Let me get your screen. Give me a second.
Let's see if I take my pointer off.
Yeah, okay. It let me share.
It did?
I don't think it's.
If you want, we'll all try to share it.
Yeah, if you can. I'm not. I can't get to.
There we go. I got it
Uh,
now. It must have been, I don't know why it did that, but I have it now, if it's okay.
okay.
Okay. We're going to roll with this. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
let's
about that.
go.
All right. So key takeaways. We're going to learn the anatomy of the fuel farm and why the parts are so important. No two fuel farms are the same. It's important to keep this in mind, especially when the system's being worked on. Just about everything is specific to your fuel farm. Pumps have special tags as well as filter vessels. Many of these get painted over and or removed. It's very time consuming to find these often outdated and non-serviceable parts. People add on to fuel farms, and industry requirements are always changing. It's imperative that you find someone you can trust and depend on to make the proper repairs to your farm. Keeping very detailed records will help in the long run. We're going to learn today simple ways to protect your investment, and you'll also learn what DP pressures are and why they're becoming more important. It's imperative to do all the recommended inspections. More importantly, you should keep the paperwork. I'm in the process of developing an app to be able to do the inspections and keep the records all online. One of the most important factors in doing the inspections is that you can often spot potential issues before they can have a serious impact. QA programs, your fuel provider can help you with this. They'll be able to help you get back on the right track and should assist in training your linemen as well. When a problem does arise, who do you have in place to address it? Now's the time to set that up. Every facility will have issues. And are you prepared for the possibility you might have to shut your fuel farm down? Who does your mechanical work? Who does your electrical work? If your county has them on staff, do they know your facility? Perry Brothers Oil Company was founded in 1957 by William, Tom, and Eldridge Perry. Perry Brothers is still a family-owned company built on integrity and trust. Dave started the Perry Brothers Aviation Fuels in 2005, but Perry Brothers has been delivering aviation fuels since the 1970s. A little bit about me. I was born in 1970 in Marietta, Georgia. I've been an ASE tech on cars for most of my life, and I can work on just about anything. I'm a former Marine and also have 20 years in the medical field, most of that radiology, cardiac cath lab, and electrophysiology lab. Post-COVID, I started working at West Georgia Regional Airport as the FBO manager, and I absolutely love the new environment. In January of 2025, I started working with Perry Brothers, where I work in sales, quality assurance, education, training, repairs, and inspections. I threw in a few photos of some of the past work I did. That's in the hospitals. That's me scrubbed in with one of the doctors, leading doctors, doing a heart cath. And then this kind of like I call it a gung-ho photo. This was after we installed a impella in a heart on a patient, and it's the first one in the state that was done without OR backup. So we shipped the patient off to a bigger hospital for post-procedure care. They lived and survived, and that was a great accomplishment for that person. So good times and good people and good experiences there for sure. Then I went on to West Georgia Regional, where everything about the airport I loved and enjoyed, and then with Perry Brothers here now. So as a reminder, information in this presentation is general in nature. There's not specific to any fuel farm. So please consult a professional about your specific facility. What is a fuel farm? A fuel farm is basically a big storage container. They come in different shapes and sizes, anywhere from less than 1,000 to over 20,000 gallons, and even bigger at some facilities. They're manufactured out of different materials like steel, fiberglass, aluminum, and stainless. Some are buried underground storage tanks, and some are above ground storage tanks. So let's look at some of the key components and their importance. Hopefully we can see my highlighter here, my laser pointer. Hoping we can still flip through the screens. So this is your sump. This is what you hear everybody talk about. This sump is where the tanks by design are built to where this end of the tank will be the lowest end. There'll be a slight tilt to this end. Any water or sediment that accumulates will be pushed down to this portion where the sump can take it back out of the tank. Floating suction, this part right here is has a float attached to it and keeps this tube where it sucks from the tank, the product from the tank to go to be dispersed. keeps it from going all the way to the bottom. A lot of times there will be a cable attached to this tube. It'll be on one of the caps on the inside, and it should be something that you periodically check to make sure that it doesn't rust or corrode. And it helps keep this from ever going all the way down to the bottom. Ventilation, you'll see some ventilation pipes up here, and then this goes out to the truck. It's a recovery tube. So when the truck loads up and drops fuel into the tank, the air that's in there gets recovered by the tractor trailer. Overfill protection. By design, these tanks are designed to have about 10% of volume left over after you fill it all the way to allow for expansion with heat. So this alarm will go off right here and let you know if it's operable. This alarm will go off and let you know that you're reaching a critical point. Interstitial monitor. A lot of these tanks are double lined, double walled. So the space in between has a small little monitor that if anything, any kind of fluid accumulates at the bottom, a little red bobber will pop up at the top. Filter housing, that's on the front of this filter over in this area. And that filter housing is one of the key components to this whole system. We're going to go over that more in depth in a little bit. The pump motor, what's used to take fuel off the truck, pump it through the filter housing, and then down into this tube to fill the tank up. And also the same pump motor is used to take the pump fluid out, push it through the filter housing where it's filtered again before it goes to either the refueler truck or directly into the aircraft. Then you have your hose reel and dispenser on the end out here. So here's a fuel farm, a real picture of one, and we can locate some of these items. So if you notice, the tanks are horizontal in nature. They are always laying on their side, generally, I should say. I should never say always. Here's a loading connection. It's up underneath their stainless bucket that they use for sumps. That's where the truck would load. Filter housing, that would be this device right here. Pump would be down here. There's sumps coming from this filter housing, this one here. There's another sump off this reclaim tank. The sump on this particular tank is on the back of the tank. You don't see it in the picture, but theirs, instead of having a pipe coming all the way up and down, theirs is directly tapped off the very back portion of the tank at the bottom. So it's pretty easy to sump, doesn't require as much fuel. The vents, here you see the vents up here. You'll see another vent over here. And then this is the recovery on this particular tank. It comes down, comes over. You actually have the single point head that loads the jet onto the refueler, is resting on that vent. Reclaim tank, again, that's a reclaim tank. It allows you to take all the fuel that you sump out of the tank, put it back in here. You can sump the water out of that or particulates out of that, and then going through this pump, you can suck it back in, push it through the filter, and then back into the tank. Hoses, you see two hoses here. One's going over this direction, one's coming from the other. These are the hoses you'd use to load the refuelers. They do have dates on them. We'll go over that in a little bit as well. Why is filtration so vital to our fuel farm? Most systems are two-stage systems. So this is, if you've been to a fuel farm, chances are you see a vessel that looks a little bit like this. This is the filter vessel. And two-stage meaning there's three coalescers here. These are particulate filters. And this filter at the very top is a separator. It's called a separator. So these would filter out particulates. Fuel comes from the inside of these filters. Each three filters, fuel comes from the inside of them, fills this compartment up, and pushes through the outside of this top filter. So any moisture that comes out is going to get blocked by this barrier here, fall down to the bottom, and then this is how you sump sump out of the filter vessel. So over here where the dot is, this is the portion where you would sump. You can see the pipe coming out the side here, where any water in there would gather, go to the lowest portion, and you could sump it out. So just as a reminder on this, um, coalescer filters filter particulates down to 1 micron. So these filters right here filter down to 1 micron. And to give you an idea how small that is, a red blood cell is between 6 to 8 microns. So we're talking very, very fine. These filters are your last barrier to prevent water from traveling through your system and into the plane. They're also encased in an explosion-proof vessel. So you can't see them, you can't tell by visually looking at them that they're getting dirty or clogged up. So that's why we rely on DP gauges. That's the importance of a DP gauge. It's telling you the condition of these filters right here. So in this slide, we see a DP gauge on an avgas truck. It's okay. They all operate the same and tell us the same thing about the filters that they're attached to, the filter housing. See a DP gauge on a truck here. We use the DP gauge to tell us how clogged the filters are. The differential pressure is to be taken when the flow is running across the filters. Any other time, the readings will be a 0. It's also critical that we know the flow rate of the filter vessel. So let's say the flow rate is 100 gallons per minute, but we are operating at 50 gallons per minute, and the DP is 7. If you do your corrected DP, the corrected DP is 14 PSI, which is actually very high. So it's real important that all the linemen and everybody understand what the corrected DP is. There's often been a lot of confusion in that. And whatever your filter vessel is rated for, that's the max that it can operate at. Your filter vessel should be whatever percentage that it's operating in a normal range should be taken into consideration. You should be able to find your operating gallons per minute. Should be located on the data plate affixed to your vessel, or you can recirculate fuel and count on a meter over a specific period of time. The max DP is 15. Running higher than that can rupture the filter material, resulting in water or particulates downstream or into the aircraft. DP is a very critical rate reading. So what's the best way to protect our fuel farms? Let's simplify it. We can start by only adding fresh, clean, dry, on-spec fuel to our tanks. We do that by filling out a receipt of fuel for every load that comes into your facility. So we're going to go through this. I think this is so important. I'd like to go through line by line if we can. I know it's going to take a little bit of time, but all these are so important, and there's reasons why. This one document right here can prevent so much trouble right off the bat. So it says here to attach the bill of lading and certificate of analysis to this document and keep it at the FBO. You always want to keep these records on hand. So you want to verify the fuel matches the order. Jet A with fizzy is not the same thing as regular Jet A. So sometimes they use the word Jet A positive, pre-treated. It's not the same. It's a little bit like getting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or are you getting a peanut butter and jam sandwich? Jelly and jam is not the same thing. Avgas as well. What have you ordered and what do you have on that truck? First thing you want to do is go ahead and hook the bonding cable to the truck. And real important, first thing, go ahead and have the driver open the internal valves on the trailer. There's a reason for this, and down here you'll find out why. So if it is pre-treated with fizzy, you want to look at the paperwork and make sure that the calculations they have are correct. You want to look at the number of gallons. Usually it's about 8.9, around 9 gallons for an 8,000 gallon tanker, somewhere around there. And you're going to times that by 100 and you come out with your target rate should be 0.125. The minimum is 0.100 and the maximum is 0.150. So most of the time it's right spot on. Verify correct quantity of fuel. So if you ordered, say, 6,000 gallons, not a full tanker load, instead of 8,000 gallons, you want to make sure that's how much you have. Make sure the volume that it'll fit in your tank. Confirm that it's a dedicated trailer, and that's all they haul on that trailer. It's just jet fuel or 100 low lead. Look at the certificate analysis, the date, and the bill of lading number, and then the bill of lading date. Put that on here as well. What tank is the fuel going in? It sounds a little bit like a crazy question, but you'll be surprised what has happened. It still happens to this day. We're all humans and we all make mistakes. But by just taking an extra second and verifying that you're unloading 100 low lead into the 100 low lead tank will prevent an absolute disaster. Gauge your tank and record the volume. Once again, we're making sure that the amount of volume that you've ordered and you have on hand will fit in that tank. A lot of people go off of their clock gauges like this one back here in the back. I've seen those go bad. We actually had somebody put in an order for an urgent order for some fuel. It was 100 low lead, and it was on a Friday afternoon. And Dave worked around, got that fuel, swapped some loads around, and got them their fuel on that Saturday morning. And when the driver went to unload it, he heard the vents starting to whistle or scream, I should say, and stopped loading. And come to find out, his clock gauge was wrong. So had to not only did we put somebody else off on getting their fuel, but you almost had a disaster if you overfilled that tank. So you want to sump your tank. Usually this is done every morning before the driver even arrives. You want to sump it to a 1A rating and also to sump the filter. What you're doing is you're verifying that everything's in good condition before they unload the truck. So you want to make sure that the pump and the hoses, everything has been flushed on the transport truck. And you want to allow for the fuel to settle for at least 10 minutes before you sump the transport truck to a 1A rating. That means you're going to check for water, contaminants, or particulates in the fuel. Not only in your tank, but you're making sure in the tank that's bringing the fuel, the tractor trailer. So that's why you open this internal valve the first thing. That way, anything that's in the belly of that tank will have time to settle down to the valves and it'll come out first. So you also want to verify the API gravity. Once they start taking the samples to get their 1A ratings, they'll take that sample and also observe the API gravity. The observed temperature, the corrected API gravity, which will be on the bill of lading and or on the certificate of analysis, and the API gravity on the bill of lading. You want to do your checks, the corrected API gravity at 60 on this right here versus this, then you want to make sure that comes out to plus or minus 1 degree on your certificate of analysis. So I apologize, that corrected API gravity is going to be the corrected what you have there at your facility. I said that wrong. So verify that if fizzy's there, you can do a B2 test kit, and you can use that as well to verify that the concentration is correct. Verify the connection of the offloading hose and connect to the tank. Monitor and record the filter differential pressure, the DP pressure, while you're offloading. After the receipt of fuel, disconnect the hoses, disconnect the bonding cables, gauge the tank. You're going to stick the tank again. The reason for doing that is to make sure that you got the amount of fuel that you ordered that was recorded on the paperwork. So some people go by the clock gauge, and some people do actually stick the tank, which I believe is the best if it allows for it. Sometimes the weather doesn't. It's wet on top of the tank. Of course, we're not getting up there unless you got the safety rails. Allow the tanks to settle before sumping and dispensing fuel. It's a minimum of 1 hour per foot on Jet A and 15 minutes per foot on avgas. If you do have floating suction, of course, you can follow the ATA 103 guidelines, because you're basically waiting for it just to settle on the top layers of the fuel. You don't have to wait for it to go all the way to the bottom. So you want to record your sump on the receiving tank afterwards, and at that time when you're checking this, and then also on the filter vessel. And that just makes sure that nothing came in from the truck that would show up if it was in the filter vessel. So this also becomes a part of your chain of custody papers, because you are adopting this load of fuel along with the certificate of analysis and the bill of lading. So there is a chain of custody from the facility where it was dispatched from, the transport truck, now to you. And now you're responsible for this load of fuel. Once it goes into your tanks, it's your fuel. So sometimes people allow the drivers to unload on their own. That's your responsibility still. Once it's in your tank, it's yours. Daily fuel farm checks. This is another way of preventing errors, or if you do find something wrong with your fuel farm, usually you can spot it or a trend going on. So one of the obvious things when you're walking up to your fuel farm, what's the general condition? Is it satisfactory? Everything look okay? Is there trash laying around, debris, leaves caked up everywhere? Fire extinguishers, are there at least two good fire extinguishers, I believe 20 pounds or more? Are they in good operating condition? Bonding cable clamps, that they're in good operating condition? Your tank sump. Every day you should be sumping this tank. Should be, if you don't get a 1A rating on the first, on your final, it should be sumped to a 1A rating. And you can write down here how many gallons it took to get that. So if you notice after you have bad weather that you're getting a good bit of water out of your tank, it might be a sign that a manhole gasket or a vent could be leaking. So if you notice, weather only after particular days, that's something to consider. Filter vessel, the same thing. You want to sump those just the same, and you can record the volume it takes to get to a 1A rating. Hoses, nozzles, and couplings, are they in good, satisfactory working condition? Have they been cut, ran over, kinked, anything like that? Damaged? Write it down, have it repaired. Deadman controls, same way. Nozzle pressure, you can get the nozzle pressure off of the top of the DP gauge. That's your operating pressure. And then differential pressure. We went over that already. That's an important reading. And what you can do on here, let's say it starts off as a 2, 2, 2, and then another week or so later, it starts trending up to 3s and then 4s. Well, that's a trend going up. If it shot up to, say, 14, and then on the next day it's a 0, then there's a good chance that that filter has ruptured. So you want to stay on top of this. If you notice the trends going up, then it could have brought in some water, or something could have clogged it and ruptured that filter membrane. Security, fire and safety, or is there a number? Is there a way for people to get in touch with the FBO manager or whoever's in charge of the fuel farm in the event an emergency does arise? we found one of our fire extinguishers had been extinguished and then put up with a cover on it. And it wasn't until somebody noticed a little while afterwards that it was used. So while there was another one around, it still certainly wasn't safe to not let anybody know that hey, we used your fire extinguisher. It's going to happen, and I'm glad he was able to use it and prevent any more damage than what did occur to his airplane. Fuel leaks, of course, if there's any fuel leaks, let's get those taken care of. And a spill kit. Everyone should have a spill kit available as well. And once again, just like your receipt of fuel, you want to keep these records. These will come in, you'll need them in the event something happens. And they want to investigate how you're keeping your fuel inventory. Same thing, periodic fuel farm inspections. Inspect the nozzle and clean nozzle screens. Monthly, you want to do millipore or free water checks. Some airports that's required. It's 139 airport is required to do that. Other airports I know do it. Even though it isn't required, they go the extra length to make sure that their equipment's in good operating condition. Static systems, you want no more than 25 ohms of resistance on that bonding cable. So we want to check that monthly. Signs, labels, and placards, of course, if they're all in good readable condition, the sun hasn't baked them and bleached them out. Spill kits, fire extinguishers, floating suction. The floating suction, you can check that on the top. If you take that cap off, there's a cable there. You look at that cable, sometimes they get really rusty and corroded. You might want to go ahead and replace that before it becomes an issue. Fuel hoses, you want to make sure that same thing as you do on your daily inspection, that everything isn't kinked or cut or damaged in any way. And of course, you keep record of these. You have your quarterly checks. I'd like to go back, if I could, to the well, I'll show you the single point here in just a little bit. Quarterly checks, emergency shutdown. It's okay to operate that. If I was afraid to touch it, afraid that it wouldn't come back on, but they're all designed where you can push them, stop the operation, check it, make sure it works, and twist it. It should pop back out. A lot of them get baked out in the sun, and I was afraid to do it, but it worked fine. Water defense systems. Some of them you can check yourself, and some of them you might want your fuel provider to check those for you. Depending upon what kind it is. Some of them, there is a simple way of checking that they're operating. Your high level alarms, usually that's just pushing a button. Reclaim tank inspections, just open it up and look at it and condition of it. Once again, sign everything and keep records of these. Then your semi-annual hose pressure test. A lot of these are done by a third party or your fuel provider. Meter proven, you always want to make sure that your meters are calibrated annually in Georgia. Filter vessel elements, that we change those out with all of our facilities that we're related to on an annual basis. Water defense systems, there is an inspection to do on that. We do that at the same time you're doing the filter vessels. And then once again, fire extinguishers and differential pressure gauges, checking those. These things you're checking anyway. And they take sometimes just seconds to go over. If you have an underground tank, cathodic protection, you have that on your system. You need to have that verified on an annual basis. Then your tank vents and your line strainers as well. Once again, you keep a record of all this. Every fuel hose has an expiration date. It's so hard to find sometimes, and all the markings on them, but they usually will have a Q involved, and that Q is so hard to tell. There's just a small little mark on there. But this one's third quarter of 2021. So these are good for 10 years. So this hose is good till third quarter of 2021. Sorry, 31. So third quarter of 31. We talked about clock gauges. These things are made very robust except for one portion. And that's the interior portion in here. And they actually have plastic gears in there. And I've seen them split and give false readings. They operate, it's just a simple machine. It operates as the float goes down. It's heavy enough to pull this down, but floats on the fluid. This one has a built-in alarm system in it. And that's where these cables go to. So let's talk about reclaim tanks. I'm seeing more and more of them out there on the sites and on the fuel farms, and they do a great job of helping people facilitate doing their jobs, the daily fuel sumps. Because unless you climb back up to the top of the tank, there's really not a good way, unless you have another tank either you pay to dispose of, there's not a good way to handle the fuel. So a reclaim tank, while they're expensive, super expensive, uh, I'll show you that you can get your money back out of them usually within a year or two after installing them. So an average sump is 3 to 6 gallons, and this is just on one tank. So 5 gallons times 7 days a week is 35 gallons a week. 52 weeks is 1,820 gallons a year. Now, if you had that fuel put back into your system and you sold it, that would be roughly, let's just say $5 a gallon. That's 9,100 gallons a year that you're putting back into that tank, into your program. So, and like I said, they promote best practices by allowing for quicker and safe fuel handling. So, depending upon your system, I know it's expensive, but sometimes you have to take these pipes apart, take them off, have them cleaned, have them weld in, drill a hole into it, and weld a threadlet or something where you can tie into on the beginning side of the pump so that the pump can push it through the filter vessel and back into the tank. Now, if you don't do that, you have to build a separate little pump. It can be an electric pump or it could be a hand pump. You have to pump that through a separate filter vessel to go back into the tank. And you can understand either way, it's expensive to have the fabrication work done. It's expensive to have those extra pieces added to it. So while it generally runs between $9,000 to about $15,000 a tank to have that installed, it pays for itself in the long run. Possible signs you may need a tank inspection. Rust particulates in your sump, excessive water in your sumps, can indicate interior rust and or parts such as the floating sump are deteriorating. Possible linings coming off or excessive water in the sumps may be a manhole cover, may need a gasket, or the vents could be leaking. While it's normal, and I say this, it is normal to get some water from condensation. Lots of water after a rain needs immediate attention. Bacteria live in the water that's present in the fuel. It's recommended you have your tanks inspected and or cleaned roughly about every 3 to 5 years. Nozzle screens are to be checked monthly. So nozzle screens, most of them, people think of them like these. They come off very easily. The nozzles do, the tips do, and you can look at them in just a few seconds. It takes 30 seconds to check this, really. And you're checking for the interior portion, this side right here, to make sure that it's clean. You tap it out, and then if everything looks good, you can put it back in and go back to business. On the single points, they can be a little bit more tricky because this hose is full of jet fuel. And so you can see here, I accidentally had too much pressure on it and made a little bit of a mess, but it's all able to be cleaned up. So what you can do is you can set this up a little higher over a ladder or something, a chair, something, and to where the hose is just a little higher than the reel. Shut off the flow from the tank to the hose, and it'll create like a little bit of a vacuum up in here. But what you want to do, I'll be glad to show right here. I just happen to have a handy dandy single point here. I thought it'd be easy enough just to show you what you do. So there'll be a piece of safety wire on here, and you have this clip that I have moved up here. This hose would be connected. Pop that up, and all these operate pretty much just like this. A little trick, you can take a screw and that'll hold that up to where you don't have to hold it with two hands. And then you take it loose. There's your filter right here, your screen nozzle, I should say, right there. So, and of course, this is new, clean. I'm inside right now, but I'll be glad to work with anybody anywhere to show you how to do this. And do this all the time, and enjoy the challenge sometimes. So you put that back down, put these in. You'll put your safety wires. Once you screw both of these in, you put your safety wires in, and move that ring down, and it's done, complete. But those should be done at least every month. So in the event a test or you find something that isn't working right, stop. All you have to do is stop and consult your provider. We're here to help you. We're here to fix anything if we can. If we can't fix it, we certainly know somebody who can. But the biggest thing is just to stop and make sure. And a lot of times you can prevent a lot of damage by just asking a question. A lot of times, 50, 60% of the times, I bet I can help you out with your iPhone, and we do FaceTime and walk you through some things to check. So a lot of times a valve simply closed or something like that, and we can help figure things out for sure. It's easy to see when the exterior of your tank is in rough condition and needs to be fixed, painted, strip it down, sandblast it, and then recoat it with epoxy. But the inside is not always so easy to see. So that's why routine cleaning and inspections are recommended. A lot of times you can just open the hatch and look down in there and everything looks fantastic. There's no need to proceed any further. And if you don't have any symptoms, like particulates or anything coming out of your sumps, generally you're okay. So on this job, here's what came out of the inside of that tank. This was on the inside of this tank right here. It's just a little bit that they scooped up for me to show. Now you can see here, after 2 coats of epoxy, I like this picture. It shows how the sump goes all the way, almost just barely not touching the bottom. That's an excellent example of how these tanks are designed. Is the exterior of that same tank. And absolutely wonderful, wonderful job. Came out perfect. A little bit more tank work there. Quality assurance. Quality assurance inspections are used to keep you up to the standards of the brand you represent. I can do this for anybody, whether you're branded or not. I'll be glad to come out to your location. Or your provider can come out to your location and do this for you and educate you on recommendations to keep your facility in compliance. You can have your fuel provider inspect your facility and also assist with training while they're out there to keep your employees up to date. Proper training is important to everyone, and it's a requirement that you have properly trained your personnel on your equipment. So there's many different ways you can get training. Every year, annually, we provide a in-person 2-day 14 CFR 139 course. It's usually done either in Birmingham, Alabama, or over in Paulding County, Georgia. We had ours in Paulding County earlier this year. So Dave does provide this free of cost. You just have to provide the hotel room and the transportation to get there, of course. Online education, you got Aviation Academy, Native First. There's all kinds of online stuff that you can do as well. Or you can do one-on-one at your facility, or your fuel provider, and assist with on-site education and inspections. I would like to take a moment and recognize Walter Chartrand from Aviation Training Academy. He's worked with Dave and Perry Brothers for over 20 years. We lost Walter in a plane crash last week when his bearing went down. He was a special guy who could make learning a very boring subject fun and engaging. His impact on this industry is immeasurable. Walter was a wonderful guy. So some additional resources, ATA 103 standards. This is the industry standards. We have our website, perrybrothers.aviationfuels.com, trustedfuel.com. If you go there, put in a request for a login, and Keith should be able to help you get that going. If you have any roadblocks at all, let me know. But he said he'd be glad to work with everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. Aviation Training Academy.aero online training, and NATA Aero, NATA Safety First. All these are wonderful places to receive training. TrustedFuel.com is a go-to for me. There's so many videos on how to do things, actual hands-on videos, doing millipores, free water tests, using your whiz wheel for checking your specific gravity, which you should be doing on every load. And all these things, it takes you have to keep doing them to keep your skills up at it, or you kind of forget if it's just one time every 6 months, you know. So yes. So I'd like to tell you about an experience that I had with an underground storage tank, if we got just a few moments. So I had an underground storage tank up at West Georgia Regional, and I did everything that I knew to do, keeping up the quality control, quality assurance, all the checklists, all the paperwork. I had everything in an immaculate order. And then one day I get a notice that an inspector came out from the EPD, and we didn't have the paperwork necessary to operate that tank. And unbeknownst to me, when I came there, I made a generic email, FBO manager at westgeorgiaregional.com, and I did away with the previous manager's email. Well, we lost all access to the EPD's website. So she gave me about a week's period of time to get things in order, and I had no clue what to do. So instead of looking for a truck driving job or something like that, I called Dave, and he put me in touch with Charlotte here at Perry Brothers, and she works with this organization, the EPD, all the time, almost on a daily, if not a daily basis. So she was able to make some phone calls and a couple of emails, and got me lined up with the company to come out and do the inspection necessary, and then got me on the website so I could get my training as a Class A, B, and C operator. And the official handover of the tank online took another couple, probably weeks and months to take care of, just to recover the old email so that we could do this. It was very difficult, very difficult to work through the EPD's website. But I'm very grateful for Charlotte and her time she took. They told me specifically they didn't care what was in the tank. They just want to make sure that the tank wasn't leaking out in the ground. And so what I thought was I was doing a fantastic job obviously wasn't enough. But everything did work out. And thanks to Charlotte, we got that going. So so at this time, I also wanted to put up, if anybody would like to get hold of us, I have a link either to me or to Perry Brothers website. I'll go back to this, and then anybody have any questions?
Okay, I'm looking at the chat session. I don't see any questions through the chat. So we'll ask again, does anybody have any questions from the group?
I'll go back to
If not, I have some questions for you, Steve.
yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, one question would be for airports with limited maintenance staff and the budgets, what would be the three most important inspection activities you would say that they could do to give the greatest return?
So I would say focused around the receipt of fuel, the equipment necessary to do that. The receipt of fuel would be like your whiz wheel, they call it, to do your
Okay.
specific gravities. Um, you have your hydrometers. You'll have, like for me, I carry around three of them, real delicate and real, I want to be careful with them, but you'll have hydrometers that you can check that with. A lot of times the truck drivers have these on their trucks and they all stay calibrated. All of ours do. And there's no need in two people doing the procedure, one doing it right behind the other one. You can do it right there with them. Generally, all of our drivers are going to do it, whether you're there or not.
Yeah.
And then doing the checklist, any equipment that's necessary to do that checklist. Real important to keep that up. Uh, and the books, the paperwork, having it organized in a manner. I've worked with Keith Clark, and whereas I used to have one big binder with all the paperwork in it, it was difficult to fumble through it. I separated it out by years. I use half-inch binders, and you keep it for the particular unit. So the fuel farm would be a black. Uh, Jet A would be a black book. The Jet A refueler would be another separate black book. And Avgas, I have blue books. And then for all the paperwork, I would have a white one. So you just staying organized and one person, not a bunch of them, but having one person responsible for it all. That way there's some accountability because when you spread it out, it's easy for parts of it to get overlooked. So definitely the equipment to check the stuff in, and that's where I would spend most of my money checking it in and doing those sumps every day. You need sump buckets. You need either white powder coated buckets or the stainless buckets. They're not cheap. Everything in this aviation industry is expensive, but it is necessary. So, yes, sir. Good question. Oh, I think you got your volume.
Thank you. I was muted. What warning signs would you say airport personnel should never ignore? And when should you say a situation where they should call their fuel provider immediately?
Um, so, well, a lot of times, these interlock systems on the trucks will start to fail. And depending upon whether you lease your truck or you own it, um, uh, when the lineman is going to be the one that's most familiar with the trucks and with the quirks and the little things that happen with it. But once you start noticing a pattern of something like that, like for instance, some of the sensors, if it doesn't sense that a piece of metal is nearby it, then it won't let you release your brakes. It won't let you move or do anything. It essentially says this is an unsafe situation. You left the hose out by the aircraft. We're not going to let you move. So a lot of times they give you little hints that, hey, I'm not feeling well today, and it works. jiggle something, it works. And then the next thing you know, there's a complete fracture of a wire or something that you can't see, and you're shut down. It's very difficult. You can do an interlock override, but that generally is just for emergency purposes. You shouldn't be operating like that. That and water in your fuel.
Gotcha.
Um, Condensation, totally normal, and especially with the weather we're having here lately, and the heat, the temperature differences, it's totally normal to get some condensation in there. But absolute, you pumping out, a cup full every day, you want to be careful for that because bacterial growth in no time, especially now, can take over.
Good deal.
Mhm.
Well,
Good
thank you,
question.
Steve, for sharing your information. I'm still looking at the chat. I don't see any additional questions. We'll ask the audience once again if anybody got any questions. Otherwise, thank you, Steve. It was great knowledge, and we appreciate you sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Okay.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
All right. Do we have any more questions for Steve?
This is Ron Lynch with the Lynch Group.
Yes,
That
sir.
brings up, Steve, you touched on sumping fuel tanks, which is, we design and oversee the installation of aviation fuel storage systems.
Yes.
And you've seen this, I'm sure, just as much as we have, is the issues of people that do not properly sump their fuel tanks. And just with what we see, you brought it up, you stressed it. I just don't think that can be overstressed about sumping and getting that water out of the fuel tanks. And we see horror stories, and I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of it, not only with the bacteria growth, but with the potential of what it can do with an aircraft if filtration is improper. So it's just a number one item for me. So I just wanted to reinforce that.
Excellent. Excellent point to make. And yes, you're right about that, and as well as all the other parts. Not one part of the system should you go without. There's all kinds of backups, and just even if you go back to if we, you go back to the way that that tank is manufactured, and it has a built-in safety variance to where you can accumulate water in there should something, you should never go without something and just take advantage of that. But there's a margin of safety there that tip should never go to the bottom of that tank. There's a lot of inherent built-in safety features in these systems, and I call them like farm boy simple. They're not overly complicated. They don't have to be. And you should never skip any part of what's required to operate these, including the sumps, sumping the tank, the filter vessel, everything. Because they're also going to tell you a story. Your DP gauge, everything is going to tell you, hey, when something's not right, it'll pop out to you and potentially save you a lot of money. So yes, sir. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank everybody for their time today. This will conclude the webinar, and everybody have a great weekend. I do want to make sure to remind everybody that these webinars are recorded and posted on YouTube. So Steve provided a lot of great information. You always can go back to those videos for reference. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See
Y'all have a
you.
good day. Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate